Welcome to Spiritual Geography. I'm Joni Miller. I love listening to people talk about their spirituality. People find connection to the transcendent in a myriad of ways. Listening to waves crashing on the shore, sitting at the bedside of someone who is dying, learning about astrology, and yes, in religious spaces. Spirituality can include rituals or not, can include prayer or meditation or not. It can include being in community, chanting or singing or taking communion, in a large cathedral or a small chapel, alone in nature or a crowded urban gathering. People can be inspired and find a connection to peace and love in ways that feel authentic and enriching to them. These ways may not be the ways that inspire you, or they may not be ways that you would ever want to do yourself, but they are valid spiritual connections for those who treasure them nonetheless. I created Spiritual Geography because I believe we each have our own way of comprehending and interacting with that something beyond our understanding and earthly experience. We may call this something that lays beyond names like God or Spirit, Source, or the universe, or the words I tend to favor: the Transcendent, the Divine, and the Infinite. Since we can't do randomized controlled research to know whether our understanding of the divine is accurate, we can never know if we are 100% correct or not, or 90% correct, or maybe even 5% correct. The divine is infinite, which means no one person can ever understand everything. At best, we have a sliver of understanding. Even adding up the spiritual understanding from every human being who ever lived would still be inadequate. I believe anyone's spirituality can be a useful subset of the infinite as long as it passes two questions. 1. Are their spiritual beliefs and practices life-giving to the person themselves? By life-giving, I mean, do they bring joy, peace, love, forgiveness, and help the person grow? And the second question is, do their spiritual beliefs and practices hurt them or anyone else? If their spirituality is life-giving and doesn't hurt them or anyone else, who am I to judge? But the last 3 episodes of this podcast had me judging, because I believe there are aspects of spiritual beliefs and practices that can harm. In these episodes, I highlighted the harm to others. I talked about using Bible verses to exclude or reprimand others, telling people they will go to hell if they don't change their ways, and using religion to condemn LGBTQ people, potentially creating psychological and spiritual wounds. I believe these are spiritual beliefs and practices that can harm, failing my second question. There is one through line in all the spirituality that can harm: certainty that one's spiritual beliefs are correct and the only way to think. This kind of certainty occurs everywhere, not just in Christianity. in every faith tradition and in the spiritual but not religious crowd. certainty comes with a side effect of demeaning others' beliefs and practices as stupid or fake or just wrong. You may think, based on the last few episodes, that I am anti-religion or specifically anti-Christian. I am not. Religion provides both a container for growth and a community that is more difficult to find in the spiritual but not religious world. And religious organizations perform a great share of charity work related to feeding the hungry and caring for others. Religious organizations can be a force for good. Religious people can be a force for good. And religious people can have life-giving spirituality that does not harm themselves or others. I've already talked extensively about the potential harm to others that may come from someone's spirituality, but spiritual beliefs can also harm the person themselves, and that comes from the same source: rigidity and certainty. If you are unbending about what spiritual actions you need to take and what you're supposed to believe, you can potentially harm yourself psychologically and spiritually. If you're not living up to your own unyielding expectations, you may have anxiety, depression, or find yourself in a dark night of the soul. One way to counteract this is to expand your definition of spirituality. I believe spirituality includes our relationship with ourselves, our relationship with others, as well as our relationship with the divine. If we only consider that last aspect, we may be missing out on wonder and beauty and love, as well as our own healing and growth. For example, forgiveness is often a spiritual practice, but there are several components to forgiveness. Forgiving ourselves, forgiving someone else, being forgiven by someone else, and potentially seeking forgiveness and feeling that forgiveness from the Transcendent. Growing in your spirituality can occur at any one of those forgiveness touch points. Limiting this merely to forgiveness from the Transcendent can leave you feeling inadequate, when you may actually be making significant progress and growing and healing. In addition, the way we connect to the Transcendent usually changes during our lifetime, sometimes in small ways, sometimes in radical ways. Our beliefs morph, and how we best interact with the divine can ebb and flow. You may have a history of daily prayer or meditation, but can't bring yourself to do it right now. But you're still finding peace and connection walking in the woods or sitting on a bench by a beautiful lake. You are still in communion with the infinite, still aligned with your spirituality. But if you have rigid expectations about what your spirituality is supposed to look like, you may be beating yourself up because you haven't prayed. Maybe your prayer just looks like a hike in nature today. Connecting to bees, butterflies, and begonias can be as powerful as any other spiritual practice. So can having a random conversation with a person on the subway, or pondering the miracle of the food on your plate. Give yourself grace. Find the wonder and beauty in how you are connecting to yourself or others, which is part of spirituality. Follow your intuition for how you best connect today, which can soften your rigid expectations for yourself. The process of connecting and building a relationship with love is what's important. Love for yourself, love for others, and love for the infinite mystery that lays beyond our understanding. Just like with any relationship, sometimes we need a break and need to regroup. By holding our beliefs gently, there is room for change and growth and acceptance of the moments when we doubt. By allowing our spiritual practices to adjust to our needs and circumstances, we can enhance the life-giving nature of our spirituality. Because we are talking about the infinite, there is always more to know, more to explore, and more ways to experience divine love. We don't understand the mysteries of the universe, but we can grow more love. Love for ourselves, love for others, and love for the infinite mystery that lays beyond our understanding. Thank you for tuning in.